Hi, I'm John Milewski, host of Dialogue, and we're at the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars on the set of Dialogue, where I just completed a discussion on Law Day 2011 theme, In Search of the Ideal Lawyer, from John Adams to Atticus Finch to question mark, where are we next? My guests are Carrie Menkel-Meadow and Kenneth Mack. And let's begin with this notion of Atticus Finch. I did not know until I asked you the question that this was your first image of an ideal lawyer. What is it about Finch, the fictional character, that is enduring in this context?
What's enduring is he took a case that was unpopular, defending a black man accused of improper behavior toward a white woman, very commonly occurring in early years at the time. And he took this unpopular case, and most importantly, he explained to his daughter, Scout, why it was very important for lawyers to argue for justice and take cases that were unpopular. And it was a commitment to the professional ideal of doing the right thing that really spoke to me as a young girl when I must have been only 13 or 14 and decided then and there I was going to be a lawyer.
One of the interesting things here is when someone goes against popular sentiment in defense of a greater value, justice or the rule of law. But in the context, in the real time, these people aren't heroics. Often they're the subjects of death threats. Mm-hmm. So talk about that, about how when we talk about an ideal, it's a safe distance and everything is romanticized, but when you're in the trenches, it's not so clean.
That's exactly right. Often our ideals are people who we've thought about it afterwards. So, for instance, even John Adams with the Boston Massacre, it became an ideal because what happened afterward was the American Revolution. But at the time, I'm sure Adams didn't know which way this was going to go. Yeah. I mean, was he going to be an unpopular figure for having done this? Was he going to lose his popularity among the American patriots? He didn't know.
He probably wasn't thinking, I am the ideal lawyer, so I shall do the ideal thing, right? It was probably a little more gray than that. Mm-hmm. Let's do some myth busting here, though. You know, in our earlier discussion, you had said that the problem with these ideals is that they create this creature that doesn't really exist. Yes. Is there any downside to this idealization, or is it inspiring, or does it create something to aspire to, or does it create something artificial?
I think it creates wonderful aspirations for students and people who want to be lawyers. I want to do the right thing. I want to make a good argument and get justice. I worry that it means that a lot of lawyers are going to be unhappy with the day-to-day work that lawyers have to do, which is solving ordinary people's problems. And that's mostly what lawyers do. And so I worry a little bit as a teacher that when we look at the ideal, the actual will seem very boring by comparison.
Yeah, what do you tell students about that? I mean, do you tell them that it's not going to always be Supreme Court level, things that movies and books are written about?
Well, I teach a historical ethics course, which involves a lot of quite well-known lawyers like Thurgood Marshall. And one thing I show them was that someone like Thurgood Marshall had to make a lot of decisions throughout his career as a lawyer. It wasn't always clear what the right thing to do was, even if you were a civil rights lawyer in the middle of Jim Crow. He had a lot of very, very questionable professional decisions that he had to make, and in some measure, that's the world that they're going to be in. There's always a decision that you have to make. It's always hard to know what's right and wrong, and even for somebody like Thurgood Marshall, it was very hard to know which cases should he take, how should he litigate them. There was always someone who thought he should do something different. So in that measure, yes, I think it is quite useful.
The students that you deal with who are studying law, are they in it for the right reasons?
I think they're in it for the right reasons. I think they start off as idealists, and as Carrie said, they become realists. The world, the world isn't heroic. And what I want them to see is even these lawyers who we think of as heroic, like Thurgood Marshall, have to make a lot of very kind of practical day-to-day decisions. And if there's a heroism in practicing law, it's really in the everyday. Do I want to take this case or don't I? How do I want to litigate it? How do I want to deal with the other side? How do I want to interact with my client? These are the things that produce heroism of a sort.
Carrie, to the degree we can generalize, what about the students you encounter?
I think for the most part they come in wanting to do the right thing, and the only thing I'd add to what Ken said is that I try to tell them, even if you are working on ordinary cases, there's always room for every lawyer to take another case, to do an immigration asylum case for someone, to help a poor person get a house, or to get relief from debt, that even the lawyer doing the most prosaic things, or the lawyer who's trying to make a lot of money, there's always space for a lawyer to do a little bit of something. And I think that these days our students at the schools that we teach at are imbued with this sense of doing a little pro bono publico no matter what else that they're doing. And I think they come out of both of our schools and many others in the United States feeling some sense of obligation, I would hope, to the society that let them become lawyers.
Excellent, thank you. If you'd like to hear more from our guests, come to our website, www.wilsoncenter.org, and look in the upper right-hand side of the screen. You'll see the tab for dialogue. If you click there and follow the links, you can find the complete 30-minute interview.